1945-49, I was at St. John's College, Oxford University. In 1942-45, I served in the army. In 1948, I married Hilary Ann Bardwell, by whom I had 3 children, Philip, born 1948, Martin, born 1949, and Sally, born 1954. In 1965, the marriage ended in divorce, and I married Elizabeth Jane Howard. She and I ceased to live together in 1980, and this marriage, too, was subsequently dissolved. From 1949 to 1961, I was an assistant lecturer, then a lecturer in English at the University College of Swansea. In 1958 to 59, I taught creative writing at Princeton University. From 1961 to 1963, I was Fellow and Director of Studies in English at Peterhouse, Cambridge University, resigning in the latter year to become a freelance writer. For something over 4 months in 1967 to 68, I was a visiting professor at Vanderbilt University, Nashville, Tennessee. My chief works are listed elsewhere in this book. In addition, I published The Book of Bond under the pseudonym of Lieutenant Colonel William Bill Tanner in 1965, and Colonel's Son, a James Bond adventure, as Robert Markham in 1968. Primrose Hill, May, 1990. Family. My father's father was said to come from East Anglia, which at one time I took to be some remote and savage mountain or desert region. He was called officially Joseph James Amis, and in the family circle, sometimes perhaps with a hint of satire, known as Pater or Dada. I can see him vividly as a small, fat, red-faced fellow with starting moist eyes and a straggly moustache, which has confused itself in my mind with the Old Bill style of the Great War. His nose had strong purple tints, and something I took to be unique to him, several isolated hairs an inch or 2 long sticking out from it here and there. He laughed frequently, with a great blaring or scraping sound of air blown through the back of the nose, but I find it hard to remember him smiling. I have only realized since preparing to write this how much I disliked and was repelled by him. Actually, I saw little of him except at Christmas or an occasional birthday, and that was quite enough for me. On one of the former, he managed to give my cousin John and me one and the same tie as a present. A joke. Possibly. He enjoyed eating out, with, I suspect, plenty to drink, and I used to admire him, if for nothing else, for sticking his napkin in the neck of his shirt, then thought a vulgarity. At these feasts he was a great teller of jokes, typically without any preamble, to trap you into thinking you were hearing about some real event. One of these horrified me so much that I have never forgotten it. A Scotsman, I was still so young I had not heard about Scotsmen being supposed to be mean, took his wife out to dinner. Both ordered steak. The wife started eating hers at top speed, but the man left his untouched. "Something wrong with the steak, sir?" No, I'm waiting for my wife's teeth." I had not then heard of false teeth either, and imagined the living teeth being torn from the woman's jaws on the spot and inserted into her husband's. Except in greeting, I cannot remember my grandfather addressing a word to me personally. His house and chattels were more prosperous than my own parents'. They were situated at Purley in Surrey, quite a posh part, and then, say about 1930, semi-rural, though already, I think, connected with London by the results of ribbon development. It was perhaps a half-hour bus ride from our own place in Norbury, SW16, halfway back towards London. The grandparental mansion was called Barchester, but any Trollopian overtones must have been in the mind of some previous owner. There were, of course, servants, as in any even mildly prosperous middle-class household of the time, but Mater, no feminine equivalent of Dada for her, was a careful manager, so much so as to be a source of near legend. It may or may not have been true, for instance, that she would leave out 2 matches for the maids to light the gas in the mornings. One match might plausibly break, so the reasoning was imagined, while more than 2 would be an inducement to some sort of pyrotechnic revel. To save lavatory paper, Mater would cut up and hang up grocers and similar bags on a hook, and one morning my Uncle Prez claimed to have cut his bottom on the lingering remains of an acid drop, an incident taken up in one of my novels, the artist not being on oath. Being unable to recall a single